Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just start. Okay, so about a year ago, Derry City and Strabane City Council and both Donegal County Council decided that it would be good for them to develop a regional energy strategy for the Northwest. And you can see that Derry is there in blue and Donegal is in green there. So it really, because we're bordering on each other, and one's in the Irish Republic and the other's in the UK, we thought it would be a good opportunity to do something cross-border. So we see it as a pathway to the lowest cost smart energy system, which is net zero, and reduce the carbon emissions. This is the goal of it, to reduce the carbon, reduce the Northwest contribution toward climate change by 2045. So some of the reasons why we're doing this, and I'll not go into any detail of them, really, it sets out local measures that can be taken to become net zero, provides a pathway for the Northwest to become carbon neutral, given its specific challenges and opportunities. I'll talk a little bit about that in the next few slides. And also I see as a catalyst for recovery in the area and the green growth in the region post-COVID-19. And it'll be a roadmap for local measures aligned to central government and local government or local target measures. So the Northwest, the current sort of Northwest region energy system we have at present is we have limited access to the natural gas network. We have a high dependency on fossil fuels for heating. In fact, Donegal doesn't have any natural gas at all, and we have sort of limited one in the Derry region. We have limited public transport, but we have large rural areas, so we do. And there's a very low uptake of or trust in low carbon transport, such as electric vehicles. We also have an efficient housing stock. We also have, on the plus side, a high penetration of wind in the region because we're in the Northwest region of Europe. We have good air quality. We have a very dispersed population. We have high energy bills and limited energy security. So those are some of the drivers that we look to try and establish the regional energy strategy. So we looked at 5 themes in total: smart energy management, renewable generation and energy storage, low carbon transport, low carbon heating, and energy efficiency. So those are some of the things that we looked at a high level in relation to these 5 themes here. So looking at facilitating all forms of low carbon transport, target homes with low energy efficiency, ban and upgrade, roll out of heat pumps, GIS mapping of potential low carbon generation, and things like private wire, virtual wire connections. So those are some of the sort of things that we considered as part of the measures we could do locally in those 5 themes. So this is the roadmap that we came up with. So if you see on the left-hand side there, the 5 themes are there. And then over the period of time between 2020 and I was showing here 2050, but we hope to achieve by 2045, certain things that we see as short-term, medium-term, long-term. So this is really the roadmap that will get us to net zero by 2045. And apologies that it's so small, but it's a large document, it's a large spreadsheet, so it's hard to see in the smart format I'm showing at the present. But if we look at some of the sort of some of the actual things that we would want to do within those themes. So roll out of air source heat pumps and ground source heat pumps. So that would be great long-term initiatives to encourage the installation of heat pumps in homes, target homes that are off the gas grid network, make tariffs cheaper than heat and oil. Those are the sort of things that we'd be thinking you need to do if you want to incentivize air source heat and ground source heat pumps. Implement a regional smart energy management system. So, create a detailed business case which describes the long-term benefits of the region by implementing a regional smart energy management system. Identify long-term operation, maintenance, and resources. So there's a lot of things within this that sort of establish or tell you how we could achieve those goals over the 5, 10, 20, 25, 30 years that we're looking at the energy strategy for. And those are just some more of the things as well. Upgrade all buildings efficiencies to band, the minimum band B. So you target homes that are built before 1992 with poor energy efficiency performance. also target industrial buildings and businesses, provide advice and financial support. So, you know, I'll not go into any detail on this. There is quite a long report that goes along with this. This is just an overview that I'm showing you at present. What we also did as part of the regional energy strategy is we worked out the carbon emissions for the actual region itself, both for Derry and for Donegal. And you can see there on the graph shown on the left-hand side that transport, commercial buildings, and domestic buildings are the highest consumers. And if you look at the information I have on the right-hand side, 94% of the whole baseline came from those three areas. And for Derry and Donegal, for Derry City and Strabane Council, we have a total energy consumption, or a total carbon emissions baseline of 1,414 kilotons of CO2 equivalent from the region. When we were doing this, we had to make some assumptions, and we found that there was lots of gaps in the actual data. So there is some work that we'll need to do as we go forward as well to try and refine the data and get more accurate data. Some of the assumptions behind it, we had to, based on the actual what would be done in Northern Ireland, what would be done in the UK, or what would be done in Southern Ireland, and then sort of extrapolate for the region based on either the population or the density, population density, or the actual square footage of the region. So there is some work still has to be done. So although we have 1,414, it's a line in the sand that we have. I'm not sure whether it's accurate or not. So we will be working on trying to make that figure more accurate as we move forward as well. And just as an aside, I looked at the carbon emissions for the actual council itself, and to see how that would compare with the region. And as you can see there, we only have 9,784 tons of CO2 emitted from the council itself. So that's only 0.7% of the total emissions for the region. So if the council went completely carbon free itself, it probably wouldn't make that much of a difference in the whole region as a whole. But just as you can see there, commuting and business travel accounted for about 14% of the total amount from the council. So that's probably changed in the last few months, considering the impact of the COVID-19, and most people's working from home now. So if we'd done the figures again for 2020, we'd probably find that the total emissions would be significantly less for the council itself. So the other thing that we've done as part of the regional energy strategy is we worked out a carbon mapping tool. So we have a baseline figure that we're going to work from, 1,414, as I said earlier on. So this carbon mapping tool would identify when you do projects how what the carbon saving would be. So effectively you'd be checking as you go along whether you're actually going to meet the target of 2045. So these are just indicative figures that we have at present because we haven't done any implementation projects yet. But we'd hope to see maybe a lot of the carbon reduction in the first few years as we would do the quick ones, and then see it sort of tail off towards the end, but still try to achieve the 2045 target of 0. So at present we have our energy regional energy strategy out for consultation. We've done a targeted consultation rather than a public consultation. So we drew up a list of consultees from both councils, which would be government bodies, utility regulators, academia, relevant staff in the councils, like the planning department, like environmental health, like the building control department, and some private sector groups, utility regulators. So we sent that out, and we had a set of questions that we asked them to respond to. The results were feedback in the next few days. People have been responding in the last few days, and over the next few days we'll be closing it probably at the end of or the middle of next week. When we get those results, when we get those responses, we'll analyze them, and then we'll discuss how we can feed that into the actual regional energy strategy internally, and then update it before we actually do a final publication and implementation of the regional energy strategy. So this is the first thing that we think we should do, is that we should set up a smart energy system for the region, and those are some of the sort of work streams that we looked at. Looking at the digitization, as I said, data was a problem with working at the carbon emissions baseline. So we would need some sort of preparatory to work on that. We need to look at what energy efficiency issues we have in this region at the present and see how we can improve them. And then look at things like energy network flexibility. And obviously we need some sort of governance for this type of energy system as well. So we still see that governance would stay with both Derry City and Strabane Council and Donegal County Council jointly. That is a sort of model that we think we would need to actually develop this smart energy system and to implement the regional energy strategies going forward. So we're looking at something like a regional energy hub. Now there's quite a few of them in the UK, so it's a tried and tested model. So there is some in Southern Ireland as well. So this is something that would be unique, but we'll be looking at something to do over the cross-border, which is something that hasn't been done before in any part of Europe or any part of the world that I could find about, where they would have a regional energy hub that would cross 2 jurisdictions. So this is the sort of way that we think we should do it. So we should have like a delivery and implementation manager, and then project officers for each of the themes that I spoke about earlier on. Jointly, we would see that sort of funded by both councils, but then moving at some future date towards a sustainable model for self-funding itself, and looking for opportunities from both governments as to how we could fund that present. So that's really everything we could say. So thank you. And I think we're having questions later on.
Yes, thank you very much, Leo. The sound is not very clear. I could understand what you said, but maybe do you have another microphone that you could use for the upcoming session? Or...
Okay. Maybe I was talking too fast as well. We do speak very fast in Northern Ireland. So
there was somebody from the attendees who wrote that the audio was not the best. Yes, maybe if you speak up or
I'll try.
Change the microphone because there is some echo behind. So.
Leo, I had no problems understanding you. So
okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. That's good. I don't know if there are any questions from the attendees or from some of the staff or from Limerick. There's Leo. Hi, Robert. Hi there.
I'm just saying hello to Leo, that's all. Sorry.
Okay. Hello.
Sounded brilliant.
Thank you.
I have a question for Leo, if I'm allowed just 1 minute. Leo, what kind of support do you have from the executives of the 2 councils you're working with for this?
Well, at present, obviously the funding that we have to do this project came from both councils, so it did. So they're 100% behind it. Now, obviously, this regional energy strategy isn't a legislative thing. It's not something that it's driven by legislation. It's something that I'll not say aspirational, but it's something that we want to try and achieve and something we want to move forward. So both councils are behind it, 100% presence in there.
Thank you, Leo.
I have a quick question as well, Leo. Terry here from Limerick.
Yes, Terry.
I noticed there in an early slide you had the relationship between, so you're looking at being a kind of a prosumer sort of aggregator service towards the DSO. How are you finding that going, like planning for that going with the DSO?
Well, that's something that we need to develop. It's something, obviously I looked at a number of fields there, so we haven't really implemented any of those initiatives yet. At present, we're just having negotiations with some of the people to see how we can move this forward. But we have to have the sort of strategy complete and published before we actually start implementation of it. So at present, I'd say it's not going very well because we're not having very much conversations with them.
No, thanks.
Okay, Terry. Okay, Martin, we can't hear you, Martin. You're on mute.
Yeah, no, I guess there are no other questions, or if somebody else has a question, just give it on. Otherwise, we will go to the next presentation. I guess not.